So, what is cyberpunk anyway? Let's get to it. All right, hi everyone. I'm Sandy, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a 1001 book countdown for you with a cyberpunk twist to it, which is kind of fun. If you're not familiar with the 1001 book countdown, I will leave a card up here for you where you can go and check out the original video that goes into all of the details about what I'm doing. But basically, I'm reading books off of this 1001 books you must read before you die list, all the versions, which has over 1,300 books on it, and I have read well over 300 now, and I just decided to document my journey here on book 2, going through all of the books. So yeah, hopefully if you're enjoying the journey, consider giving me a subscribe and following along. I'm having an absolute blast. I also have a Discord channel where if you're reading from the 1001 books, or reading really any books, you can go and contribute to that conversation, which has been really fun as well, and also includes the books for my book club. So yeah, consider joining the Discord or giving me a subscribe. But for today, what we'll go ahead and do is we'll put up the numbers, which are 946 and 48, and 48 is the 2022 number. I will try and say 2022 today. Last time I kept saying 2021. So at the beginning of the year, I pre-select 52 books, and I have read 4 already, so I am down to 48. Very exciting. But for today, the book I'm going to talk about is a cyberpunk book. I had never heard the term cyberpunk before, really had no idea. I think I'd maybe heard it on book 2, but didn't have any clue as to what it was. So cyberpunk, first of all, is described. I will read it from Wikipedia. So cyberpunk is a subgenre of science fiction in a dystopian futuristic setting that tends to focus on a combination of low life and high tech, featuring futuristic technological and scientific achievements such as artificial intelligence and cybernetics juxtaposed with societal collapse or decay. So if you're thinking like movie type of references that would be considered cyberpunk, The Matrix would be one, Johnny Mnemonic would be another, which William Gibson actually wrote a short story that was the basis for Johnny Mnemonic, and he wrote, from what I can understand, the screenplay for Johnny Mnemonic. Also things like Judge Dredd from a comic book perspective, or a very iconic one, which is Blade Runner. So low life, high tech, absolutely components of all of that type of movie stories. And this book is kind of an inspiration for a lot of those. So that gives you a really high level perspective of what cyberpunk is. So did cyberpunk really work for me? So let's see. The book that I read, and I said we, but I'll tell you why, is actually Neuromancer by William Gibson. So I ended up reading this as a buddy read with David Wiley, which is actually the whole reason why this book got added to my 2022 list, because I knew that we might be able to read this, and the timing just happened to work out that we were able to read it in January. And I am so incredibly thrilled that I did get to read this. So this book was published in 1984 and is set in a wide variety of different kind of areas. It starts out in Japan. What's not super clear is if it's really Japan or if it's another world of Japan, meaning, which I'll talk about in a second. But it starts off following a character whose name is Case, and Case is described as a cyber cowboy. So he plugs into this world, he jacks in to this world and can maneuver around within this virtual environment. And he is working for some very bad characters at the very beginning of the book, and he makes a very wrong decision, and the retribution that they put on him is extreme. They basically make it so he can't log in anymore. He can't plug into this environment, and it is devastating to him. There's a line in this book that if you haven't read it, both David and I absolutely reacted to this particular line that's like, Oh, that's harsh. Just in how they said what they were doing, and you knew from that line that he was in some trouble. So then he gets presented with a couple of new people who give him some idea that maybe he can be cured, and maybe he'll be able to plug back in. And of course, there are strings associated with that. There's a whole ton of stuff going on in this. There is a wide variety of characters in this. You're not always sure if they are real, if they're AI, if what world you're in is the AI kind of surreal, matrixy like world, or if you're in the real world. Are you in space or are you in a program in space? There's so much going on in this book. It is chaotic and twisty turny. This is not a book that you're going to read and go, oh, I'm bored. I was never bored reading this book. I may not fully understand everything that happened in the book, though. I think this is one of those books that would do with a reread really, really well, because there are so many components and so many twists and turns, and there is a kind of AI program that is trying to take over, combined with another one that might be kind of trying to combat that. There's some really cool cybernetic type of technology in here I thought was really clever in there. It is chaotic. Like I said, there is just so much going on in this particular book. It is unbelievable. And I actually really liked this book. I was pulled into Case's character. I was pulled into his, there's a siren going on. I don't know if you can hear that. Pulled into the people who were helping him. I really was fascinated by all of the storylines in here. And the ending was a little confusing. I will say that I don't know exactly, like, part of the ending. There are one thing, if you're going to read this book, and this is something that might be a problem for you, there is, some, bad language in it. There's also just sex that shows up for no apparent reason in the book at times when you don't expect it, but it didn't detract from the book for me at all. And so is cyberpunk a new thing for me? I don't know, maybe. It's an interesting one. This was made more enjoyable by getting to read this with David Wiley. If you're not familiar with David, I will leave his channel linked in the description for you, because it was absolutely wonderful. And this was, I believe, a reread for him, but I really enjoyed this book. It's kind of one of those things, like, again, I don't know if I fully understood everything, but I was there for the ride. The ride was worth it with this one. But other examples of, so no, I know what I'm going to do. Sorry, I'm going to go ahead. So with this book, I do get to go from 946 to 945, and it is on the 2022 list. So I will go from 48 to 47, which means I am right on track in January. Another example of a cyberpunk novel that's actually on the 1001 book countdown is actually this one, which is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. This is the inspiration for Blade Runner, if you're familiar with that. And so I will be doing this as a buddy read with Jem from Gemma Books, and I think we said April. But yeah, this one is not on my 2022 list, but is on the 1001 book list. So I'm excited to pick up this one and see. And maybe I should be looking for more cyberpunk. I don't know. We'll see with that. But that's the only book I have to... I'm knocking stuff over. That is the only book I have today for the countdown. As far as other things I'm reading this week, I am still continuing on with The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel with my group, which is AJ Dunn Reads and Writes, Shelley Swearingen, Jolene at Bookworm Adventure Girl, Sonia Devaney, and Deborah Johnson, who are both subscribers. And this is interesting as well. I have to say, I'm not getting along as well with The Mirror and Light as I did with Bring Up the Bodies. It's kind of back in the Wolf Hall piece. The first section of this book I loved. After that, not so much. And then the other book I'm still working on is called Cuckoo Land. So yeah, this one, you can see there is a nice bookmark in here, and I'm making significant progress. In regards to the 1001 book list, as far as what I will be reading next, I don't know. I have Americana, which I believe I talked about last week. I also have Midak Alley, which will be for the Reading Africa Challenge. I also have If This Was Man, a Primo Levi novel that I'm not remembering the title of, which is behind this book over here and I can't see it. So I don't know what 1001 books I'll pick up next week. I'm kind of focusing on finishing the Cloud Cuckoo Land and then seeing where I go. So it's kind of a fun last week. Again, I'm not doing my, not reading any of the books from the 1001 list and just doing a brain candy kind of week like I did in December, which was really fun. But I am kind of leaving it open to see where my reading takes me this week. So with that, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to start pointing again. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.